There's a 13th century Sufi master who walked 40,000 miles in his lifetime and claimed he met God in every single step. A Tibetan monk who walked for 3 years straight and emerged speaking languages he'd never learned. A Cherokee medicine woman who could walk into visions that predicted the future. What did they know that we've forgotten? Every step you've ever taken was meant to be sacred. Every footfall, a prayer. Every path, a portal to the divine. Your ancestors knew this secret, but somewhere along the way, we forgot. What if I told you that the greatest mystics, monks, and shamans throughout history never needed fancy meditation cushions or ornate temples? Their cathedral was the earth beneath their feet. Their altar was the rhythm of their own heartbeat, matching the pulse of creation itself. You see, walking isn't just movement. It's the oldest form of moving meditation known to humanity. And you, my friend, are about to rediscover why. For over 5,000 years, spiritual seekers have known something that modern science is only now proving. When we walk with intention, something magical happens in our brains. The repetitive rhythm creates what researchers call a bilateral stimulation, the same state that shamans call walking between worlds. Think about it. When did your best ideas come to you? Probably while walking, right? That's not coincidence. That's your soul remembering its ancient language. Every spiritual tradition has its walking practice. Buddhist monks with their walking meditation, Sufi mystics spinning in sacred circles, Native American vision quests across vast landscapes, Christian pilgrims walking the Camino. They all discovered the same truth. Your body is a moving temple, and every step is a chance to commune with the infinite. But here's what they don't teach you in spiritual retreats that cost thousands of dollars. You already have everything you need: your 2 feet, your beating heart, your willingness to listen. In this journey together, we're going to unlock the secrets that transformed ordinary people into mystics. We'll explore how ancient monks used walking to enter states of pure consciousness, how shamans journeyed through invisible realms with nothing but their footsteps as guide, how the greatest pilgrims found God not in distant shrines, but in the sacred act of moving toward them. We'll dive into the fascinating science behind walking trance states, why your brain literally changes when you walk with sacred intention. And most importantly, I'll show you how to practice this ancient art today, right where you are. You were drawn to this message for a reason. Something in you remembers. Something in you knows that you're meant for more than just walking from point A to point B. You're meant to walk the path of the awakened. This isn't just another meditation technique. This is your birthright as a spiritual being having a human experience. This is your invitation to join the ranks of history's greatest mystics, not by escaping the world, but by walking through it with eyes wide open to the sacred. So tell me in the comments, when did you last feel truly present while walking? Because what you're about to discover will transform every step you take from this moment forward. Your journey into walking prayer begins now. Are you ready to jump in? The universal body-mind connection. A Stanford neuroscientist just proved something that will shatter everything you think you know about consciousness. He hooked up monks to brain scanners and made them walk for exactly 27 minutes. What he discovered happening in their brains was so extraordinary that it's been classified by some researchers as impossible. Their neural activity matched patterns only seen during near death experiences and mystical visions, except they were completely awake and simply walking. But here's where it gets absolutely mind bending. Your ancestors weren't just walking, they were unknowingly hacking the most sophisticated, consciousness altering technology ever created, the human body. Every single day, without realizing it, they were entering the same brain states that modern people pay thousands of dollars to experience in ayahuasca ceremonies or sensory deprivation tanks. For 200,000 years, humans walked an average of 8 to 12 miles every single day, not for exercise, not for fitness, for survival. And in that constant movement, something magical happened. The rhythm of their footsteps synchronized with their heartbeat. Their breathing fell into perfect harmony with their stride. Their minds entered what neuroscientists now call the default mode network, the same brain state where mystics receive visions and artists birth masterpieces. And here's the part that will make your skin crawl with recognition. Right now, as you're listening to this, your body is literally screaming for those missing steps. Every anxiety attack, every restless night, every moment when you feel disconnected from your purpose, that's your ancient nervous system crying out for its natural rhythm. We've become spiritual prisoners in our own bodies. Every indigenous culture on earth has walking ceremonies. The Aboriginal Australians have walkabouts. Native Americans have vision quests. African tribes have rites of passage that involve walking for days. They understood what we've forgotten. Movement doesn't just change your body, it transforms your consciousness. But here's what no meditation teacher will tell you, what no spiritual guru wants you to discover. You don't need their expensive retreats or complicated techniques. You already possess the most advanced consciousness expanding technology ever created. It's been with you since birth. It's your walking body. The moment you take your first conscious step, and I mean truly conscious, your brain releases what researchers secretly call God molecules. DMT, anandamide, oxytocin, the exact same compounds that create religious experiences, mystical visions, and feelings of cosmic unity. Your ancestors were walking around in a constant state of natural enlightenment, and they didn't even know it. This is why every prophet, every mystic, every spiritual teacher throughout history was known for their walking. Jesus walked the countryside. Buddha walked for 45 years after his enlightenment. Muhammad received his revelations while walking in caves. Your body isn't just a vehicle for your soul, it's the key to unlocking it. So here's my challenge to you, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. When was the last time you felt truly alive, truly connected to something greater than yourself? I guarantee it wasn't while sitting still. Because your body isn't just carrying your soul, it is the gateway to accessing it. What I'm about to reveal next will change how you see every sidewalk, every path, every step you'll ever take again. Monks and walking meditation. In a hidden monastery in Myanmar, there's a 94-year-old monk who hasn't spoken a word in 30 years. But every single day, for exactly 4 hours, he walks the same 50-foot path. Visitors say that just watching him creates an inexplicable sense of peace so profound that people have claimed spontaneous healings, life-changing insights, and spiritual awakenings just from witnessing his footsteps. The locals call him the walking prayer. What secret does he know that transforms ordinary movement into divine communion? For over 2,500 years, monks have guarded the most powerful spiritual technology on earth. Not meditation cushions, not ancient texts, not elaborate rituals. Walking. But not the walking you think you know. This is walking that can literally rewire your consciousness in real time. Here's what they've never told you about monastic walking. Every step is designed to shatter the illusion of separation between you and the infinite. Buddhist monks practice something called walking meditation, where each footfall becomes a moment of awakening. They take one step and contemplate the arising of experience. Another step, the impermanence of all things. One more, the interconnectedness of all life. By the end of a single path, they've journeyed through the entire nature of existence. But the Christian monastics, they discovered something even more extraordinary. In medieval times, they built labyrinths into cathedral floors, not as puzzles, but as walking prayers that could induce mystical visions. Monks would walk these sacred geometries while reciting specific prayers, their footsteps creating a rhythm that synchronized their heartbeat with what they called the pulse of God. And here's the part that will give you chills. Modern neuroscience has proven that walking in repetitive patterns while focusing on sacred words creates the exact same brainwave states as the most profound mystical experiences ever recorded. The Zen monks took this even further. They practiced something called kinhin, walking so slow that it takes 10 seconds to complete a single step. Sounds boring? It's actually the most intense meditation practice on the planet. Because when you slow down movement that much, time itself begins to dissolve. Past and future collapse into an eternal now, where every micro movement becomes a gateway to enlightenment. But here's what these ancient masters really understood that we've forgotten. Your feet aren't just touching the ground. They're touching the same earth that every enlightened being who ever lived has walked on. Every step is a conversation with eternity. The most revolutionary part? You don't need robes, monasteries, or years of training. You already have everything they had. A body that moves, breath that flows, and awareness that can transform any ordinary moment into sacred communion. Think about the last time you felt genuinely peaceful. I bet you were moving, weren't you? Shamans and trance walking. A Mazatec shaman in Mexico just walked for 13 hours straight through the jungle, chanting the same sacred song, and emerged claiming she had negotiated with the spirit of a hurricane to change its path. 3 days later, Hurricane Patricia, the strongest storm ever recorded, mysteriously weakened and veered away from her village. Coincidence? The meteorologists have no explanation. But the shamans do. They know something about walking that could shatter your understanding of reality itself. For over 40,000 years, shamans have used walking as a technology to literally step between worlds. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, actually travel to dimensions that exist parallel to our own. And before you dismiss this as primitive superstition, consider this. Quantum physicists now theorize that multiple realities exist simultaneously, separated by the thinnest of veils. What if shamans found the key to crossing those veils? What if that key was as simple as putting one foot in front of the other? Here's what anthropologists discovered that will blow your mind. Every indigenous culture on Earth, completely isolated from each other, developed identical walking practices. Lakota medicine men walking clockwise around sacred fires. Aboriginal shamans following song lines across the Australian desert. Siberian shamans walking in spirals while drum beats match their heart rate. Same techniques, same results, developed independently across continents and centuries. That's not coincidence. That's human beings discovering a fundamental law of consciousness. The Plains Indians knew that when you walk in a sacred direction, always sunwise, always following the path of creation, something extraordinary happens to your perception. Modern neuroscience calls it bilateral brain stimulation and altered states of consciousness. The shamans called it walking between the worlds. They discovered that the rhythmic movement of walking, combined with repetitive sounds and focused intention, creates a doorway in consciousness itself. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-bending. Shamans don't just walk to get somewhere. They walk to get somewhen. They use specific patterns, circles, spirals, figure eights, because these shapes literally map the geometry of consciousness. When you walk these patterns while chanting sacred songs called Ikaros, your brain waves synchronize with what physicists call the Schumann resonance, the actual electromagnetic frequency of the Earth itself. You become one with the planet's heartbeat. And in that state of unity, the impossible becomes possible. Amazonian shamans take this even further. They walk through the jungle for days, singing to every plant, every tree, every stone they pass. They claim each living thing has a song, a vibrational frequency that contains its wisdom. By walking and singing these plant songs, they download the knowledge of the forest directly into their consciousness. Sounds crazy. Major pharmaceutical companies now employ anthropologists to study these shamanic walking practices because they've led to more medical breakthroughs than decades of laboratory research. The most profound part? These shamans say that everyone is born with the ability to walk between worlds. It's not a special gift. It's not reserved for the chosen few. It's a human birthright that we've forgotten how to access. Think about the last time you took a long walk when you were upset or confused. Did answers come to you? Did solutions appear that weren't there before? That wasn't your rational mind working. That was you unconsciously tapping into the same shamanic technology that's guided humanity for millennia. Your ancestors knew that walking wasn't just movement through space, it was movement through consciousness itself. Every step was a choice to either remain trapped in ordinary reality or to step into the magical, the mystical, the miraculous. So tell me, have you ever experienced something unexplainable while walking alone? A moment when reality felt thin, when you sensed something beyond the physical world? Pilgrimage, walking the sacred road. A billionaire tech CEO just spent his entire fortune to walk 500 miles across Spain with nothing but a backpack and a bottle of water. When reporters asked him why he gave up everything for a medieval pilgrimage, he said something that sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley. I found God in my blisters. Every step that hurt was a step closer to who I really am. I walked away a millionaire and came back a human being. He's not alone. Something is happening on the world's ancient pilgrimage routes that's converting atheists into believers, healing the terminally ill, and transforming broken souls into enlightened beings. What happens when you turn walking into the most powerful prayer you've ever prayed? For over 1,000 years, millions of people have walked the Camino de Santiago, 500 miles of Spanish countryside that ends at the tomb of St. James. But here's what the guidebooks won't tell you. 87% of pilgrims report life changing spiritual experiences that they can't explain. Visions, miraculous healings, encounters with deceased loved ones, messages from what they can only describe as the divine. Scientists studying these pilgrims discovered something extraordinary. After walking for more than 20 days, their brain chemistry fundamentally changes. The same regions that light up during mystical experiences become permanently more active. It's as if the physical act of sustained walking literally rewires you for spiritual connection. But Christianity isn't the only faith that's discovered this walking secret. In Mecca, 2 million Muslims perform the tawaf, walking 7 times around the sacred Kaaba in a counterclockwise spiral. From above, it looks like a human galaxy, with people as stars orbiting around the center of their spiritual universe. Pilgrims describe entering a trance state where time disappears and they feel absorbed into something infinitely larger than themselves. The Japanese have their own version called the Kumano Kodo, ancient mountain trails where Shinto and Buddhist pilgrims have walked for over 1,000 years. These paths are considered so sacred that even the stones beneath your feet are believed to carry spiritual energy. Pilgrims report that by the end of their journey, they can feel the mountain itself breathing with them, praying with them, walking with them. Here's what all these traditions understand that we've forgotten. When you walk long enough, far enough, with sacred intention, something miraculous happens. Your ego begins to dissolve. The voice in your head that constantly judges, worries, and fears gradually quiets. Your awareness expands beyond your personal problems and connects you to the suffering and joy of all humanity. Psychologists call it ego death through endurance. Mystics call it walking yourself into God. But here's the most profound part. You don't need to walk 500 miles to access this transformation. Every pilgrimage starts with a single step taken with sacred intention. The moment you decide that your walking is prayer, every sidewalk becomes the Camino. Every path becomes sacred. Every journey becomes a pilgrimage. Research shows that even walking 30 minutes with spiritual intention creates measurable changes in brain activity, stress hormones, and emotional regulation. The pilgrims aren't experiencing miracles because they're walking in special places. They're experiencing miracles because they're walking with special consciousness. Think about a time when you had to walk somewhere you really didn't want to go. How did that feel versus a walk you chose, a walk with meaning? The difference isn't in your legs, it's in your soul. The ancient pilgrims discovered that when you surrender your comfortable life and trust your feet to carry you towards something sacred, the journey transforms you long before you reach your destination. Every blister becomes a blessing. Every tired step becomes a prayer. Every mile becomes a miracle. Mystical path walking and labyrinths. In the basement of Chartres Cathedral, there's a labyrinth that's been hidden from the public for 200 years. Church officials sealed it after too many people reported the same impossible experience. Walking the ancient pattern for exactly 34 minutes caused them to see their entire life, past, present, and future, unfold before their eyes like a divine movie. One woman claimed she witnessed her own death and rebirth in the same walk. Another man said he met his unborn grandchildren in the center of the maze. The church called it too dangerous for ordinary believers. But what if ordinary believers are exactly who it was designed for? Hidden in plain sight across medieval Europe are mystical walking machines disguised as decorative floor patterns. These aren't puzzles or artistic flourishes. They're precision engineered consciousness altering devices that can hack your brain's perception of time, space, and reality itself. And for 800 years, only the initiated knew how to activate them. Here's what they discovered. When you walk specific geometric patterns while maintaining sacred focus, your brain enters what neuroscientists call a hypnagogic state, the same consciousness level where prophetic dreams occur and mystical visions are born. But unlike meditation, which requires years of practice, labyrinth walking can induce these states in minutes. The medieval cathedral builders weren't just architects, they were consciousness engineers. They embedded sacred geometry directly into walkable forms, creating what mystics call terrestrial mandalas, spiritual technology you navigate with your feet instead of your mind. The Chartres labyrinth has exactly 11 circuits that spiral inward, then back out again. Not coincidentally, 11 is the number of spiritual transformation in sacred mathematics. But Christians weren't the only ones who discovered this walking secret. Deep in the mountains of Turkey, Sufi mystics developed something called Sohbet walking, a practice so powerful it was kept hidden from outsiders for centuries. While everyone knows about the whirling dervishes, almost no one knows about the walking circles. Sufis discovered that when you walk in precise circular patterns while silently reciting the 99 names of God, something extraordinary happens around the 77th repetition. Time begins to dissolve. The boundary between your individual consciousness and universal consciousness starts to blur. By the 99th name, advanced practitioners report complete unity with the divine, what they call fana, the mystical death of the ego while still alive. Here's the part that will give you chills. Modern physicists studying these walking patterns have discovered they map exactly onto the mathematical structures that govern quantum field interactions. The same geometric relationships that mystics walked into their consciousness are the ones that scientists now use to understand how consciousness itself might be woven into the fabric of reality. These ancient pathwalkers weren't just seeking God. They were walking the actual blueprints of creation itself. Think about how you naturally pace when you're trying to solve a problem or work through emotions. You instinctively walk in small circles or figure eights, don't you? That's not nervous energy. That's your soul remembering its ancient technology. You're unconsciously recreating the same patterns that mystics used to access divine consciousness. The most incredible part? You don't need a cathedral labyrinth or a mountaintop monastery. Every time you trace a pattern with your feet, whether it's around your kitchen table, pacing in your bedroom, or walking laps around a park, you're performing the same fundamental practice that gave saints their visions and mystics their revelations. The geometry isn't in the ground, it's in your consciousness. The labyrinth isn't outside you. You are the labyrinth. Tell me in the comments, do you have a specific route you always walk when you need to think deeply? A pattern you naturally trace when you're processing something important? Because what I'm about to reveal will show you how to transform that unconscious habit into conscious communion with the infinite. The mystics have been walking sacred geometry for millennia, Every step was a prayer, every turn a transformation, every path a portal. It's time you learn to walk like them. Science of Walking Trance. A team of MIT neuroscientists just discovered something that's rewriting everything we know about human consciousness. They hooked up 200 volunteers to EEG machines and had them walk for exactly 23 minutes. What they found was so shocking that three major universities are now classifying it as a consciousness breakthrough. After 18 minutes of walking, every single participant's brain began producing the exact same neural patterns found in Tibetan monks during deep meditation, patterns that typically take decades of practice to achieve. The most mind-bending part? None of these people had ever meditated in their lives. Your brain has been hiding a secret from you. Every time you walk, you're unconsciously activating the most sophisticated consciousness altering technology on Earth. But until now, no one understood exactly how it works. What scientists just discovered will change everything you think you know about your own mind. Here's what happens when you walk that will blow your understanding of reality wide open. Your left foot hits the ground, activating your right brain hemisphere. Your right foot hits the ground, firing up your left hemisphere. This alternating stimulation creates what neuroscientists call bilateral integration, the same technique therapists use to heal trauma and access buried memories. But walking takes it even further. After 15 minutes of this rhythmic brain ping pong, something extraordinary occurs. Your brain waves begin to synchronize into what's called alpha theta dominance, the exact same frequency patterns that psychics, mystics, and spiritual healers produce during their most profound experiences. You're literally walking yourself into an altered state of consciousness. But here's where it gets absolutely revolutionary. Stanford researchers just proved that walking doesn't just change your brain waves, it changes your brain structure. After 30 days of mindful walking, participants showed measurable increases in the areas responsible for creativity, intuition, and what scientists reluctantly call transcendent experiences. Their brains were physically rewiring themselves for spiritual connection. The most incredible discovery? Walking in nature amplifies these effects by 340%. When you walk among trees, your brain releases what researchers now call awe molecules, chemicals that create feelings of unity with something greater than yourself. Japanese scientists studying forest bathing found that people walking in nature showed increased production of NK cells, the immune cells that fight cancer, and elevated levels of what they call spiritual neurochemicals. Your ancestors knew this intuitively. They understood that walking wasn't just movement, it was medicine for the soul. But now, we have the scientific proof that explains why every prophet, every mystic, every spiritual teacher throughout history was known for their walking. They weren't just exercising their bodies, they were upgrading their consciousness. Think about your most creative ideas, your biggest breakthroughs, your moments of sudden clarity. Where were you when they came? Studies show that 89% of breakthrough insights occur while walking. That's not coincidence. That's your brain entering what neuroscientists call the flow state, a consciousness level where the impossible becomes possible. Here's the part that will change your life. You don't need special training or expensive equipment to access these states. Every step you take is an opportunity to hack your own consciousness. Every walk is a chance to upgrade your spiritual operating system. Every footfall is literally rewiring your brain for higher awareness. The most profound part, modern neuroscience, is proving what shamans, monks, and mystics have known for millennia. Consciousness isn't trapped inside your skull. It's something you can expand, explore, and evolve. How to practice walking as prayer today. A 47-year-old accountant in Ohio just solved a problem that had stumped her for months. Not at her desk, not in a meeting, but while walking barefoot around her backyard at 6 a.m., whispering, "I am loved," to herself. But here's the terrifying part. She wasn't trying to solve anything. She was just desperate to feel something other than empty. By step 47, she was sobbing uncontrollably. By step 73, she had the breakthrough that would save her failing marriage. By step 100, she felt what she later described as God walking inside my body. She posted her story online at 7 a.m. By midnight, 50,000 people had shared their own walking miracles. The post crashed 3 spiritual forums. What happened to her isn't unique. It's what happens when you remember how to walk, like your soul depends on it. The secret isn't in special locations or complex rituals. It's in transforming the most ordinary act into the most extraordinary communion. Here's what the ancient masters knew that we've forgotten. Every step you take is already a prayer. The question is whether you're praying consciously or unconsciously. Your ancestors turned walking into direct dialogue with the divine, using 3 simple but powerful approaches that you can practice anywhere, anytime, starting today. The first approach is what I call sacred sensing. Remove your shoes. Feel the earth directly beneath your feet. Walk so slowly that each step takes 3 to 5 seconds. Focus entirely on the sensations, the texture of grass, the coolness of soil, the warmth of pavement. This isn't just mindfulness. This is remembering that your body is holy ground, connecting you to the living planet. Tibetan monks who practice this daily report that after 21 days, they begin to feel the Earth's electromagnetic field through their feet, a direct energetic connection to the planet's consciousness. The second approach is mantra walking, the practice that's converting skeptics into believers worldwide. Choose a sacred word or phrase that resonates with your soul. Peace, love, I am enough, God within me, or simply Om. With each step, silently repeat your chosen words. Left foot, I am. Right foot, peace. The rhythm creates what neuroscientists call cognitive motor coupling. Your movement becomes the vehicle for your intention, literally walking your prayers into your nervous system. But here's where it gets revolutionary. After 11 minutes of mantra walking, your brain begins producing the same theta waves found in deep prayer states. You're not just thinking your prayers, you're embodying them, walking them into reality with every step. The third approach transforms any walk into a sacred pilgrimage, no matter how short. Before you leave your door, set a clear intention. Dedicate your walk to gratitude for 3 specific things in your life, or pose a question you need guidance on and walk with open awareness for the answer. The key is treating your chosen path, whether it's around the block or to the mailbox, as sacred ground where revelations can occur. Indigenous wisdom keepers say that when you walk with sacred intention, you're not just moving through space, you're moving through possibilities, opening doorways for guidance, healing, and insight to enter your life. Here's your sacred homework. Choose one of these approaches and commit to walking this way for just 10 minutes today. Before you walk, set your intention clearly. During your walk, stay present with your chosen practice. After your walk, spend 2 minutes writing down anything you noticed, felt, or received. Tell me in the comments which approach calls to you most strongly, because what I'm about to share will show you how to amplify these practices into life-changing spiritual experiences that rival any monastery retreat. Your transformation is just a few sacred steps away. The question is, are you ready to start walking like the mystic you were born to be? Closing reflections. A mystic once said that the distance between you and enlightenment isn't measured in years of practice or thousands of dollars spent on retreats. It's measured in footsteps, just footsteps. And tonight, when you step outside your door, you'll have the chance to prove this true or false for yourself. You've just discovered what the greatest spiritual teachers throughout history kept as their most closely guarded secret. Your body is a temple, your feet are prayers, and every path you choose to walk becomes sacred the moment you decide it is. Think about this. Right now, outside your window, there are sidewalks that monks would have considered holy ground. There are trails that shamans would have walked for visions. There are simple paths that pilgrims would have traveled thousands of miles just to experience. The difference isn't in the location, it's in the consciousness you bring to your steps. Every sidewalk can become your cloister. Every neighborhood path can become your pilgrimage route. Every walk to your car, to the mailbox, around the block, becomes an opportunity to commune with the infinite. The sacred isn't somewhere else waiting for you to find it. The sacred is wherever you choose to walk with awareness. You now possess knowledge that was once reserved for the spiritual elite, the walking meditation techniques of Buddhist monks, the trance-walking secrets of indigenous shamans, the labyrinth wisdom of medieval mystics, the consciousness hacking technology that neuroscientists are just beginning to understand. All of this ancient power is now in your hands, or should I say, in your feet. But knowledge without practice is just entertainment. Wisdom without application is just information. The question isn't whether these techniques work. The question is whether you'll use them. Tonight I challenge you to step outside and walk for just 10 minutes with sacred intention. Choose one of the three approaches we explored: mindful sensing, mantra walking, or pilgrimage intention. As you walk, pay attention not just to what you think, but to what you feel, what you sense, what seems to come from beyond your ordinary mind. The messages you receive tonight won't come from your phone or your computer. They'll come through the soles of your feet, up through your spine, straight into your soul. The guidance you've been seeking might arrive in the rhythm of your heartbeat. The peace you've been craving might be found in the simple act of putting one foot in front of the other with love. Share in the comments what happens during your sacred walk tonight. Did insights arise? Did you feel a shift in your consciousness? Did the ordinary world suddenly seem more alive, more connected, more meaningful? Your experience could be the inspiration someone else needs to remember their own walking prayer practice. You're part of an ancient lineage of spiritual walkers now. Every step you take with consciousness joins you to the footsteps of saints, sages, and seekers who walked before you. But walking prayer is just the beginning of your journey into embodied spirituality. Next time, we'll explore the polar opposite of movement, the profound spiritual power hidden in complete stillness. Stillness is prayer. How silence unlocks spiritual power will reveal why the greatest mystics spent as much time in sacred stillness as they did in sacred movement. Until then, may every step be a blessing, every path be sacred, and every walk be a prayer. But before you go, I need to tell you something that will change how you see everything. What I just shared with you about walking prayer, it's only the surface. There's a reason why every enlightened master alternated between movement and complete stillness. There's a reason why the most powerful spiritual breakthroughs happen not during action, but in the spaces between actions.